wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. Corey Sewell on a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking pressured, hit from behind, take it down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.
Well, what's happening, Detroit Lions fans? It's Will with Rocked On Detroit Lions and my infamous partner in crime, Andy B. Andy B, say what's up to everybody, man.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're as great of a mood as I am after yesterday's debacle.
Yeah, Andy's not in the greatest of moods. I mean, none of us really are after yesterday's loss. But look, it's just a game. The Lions will move on. They'll hopefully get it back together. But we wanted to talk about it today, and I'm sure everyone's kind of sick of talking about it, right? We're just kind of beating the same old drum. Hopefully we can offer a little bit of a different perspective today on some things. Probably not much. But, I want to touch on one of the things that will pop up when this video is done is the CJ Gardner Johnson and Kirby Joseph video that I caught while I was at the game. It is in the live section on our YouTube. Make your own judgments. Look, is Kirby hot, because he actually, according to the stats, had a pretty decent game. Was he pissed off at everybody else? Or was CJ Gardner trying to take up a teaching moment and Kirby wasn't having it? Or I've heard another rumor that, maybe him and AG weren't getting along. Supposedly, AG and Bugs weren't getting along. Who knows? We don't know. And I'm not going to act like I know because that would just be wrong. So we'll let people figure it out. Hopefully it'll get addressed. If you guys keep pushing it, it got pushed to Reddit, I guess I just found out. So it's made a subreddit. And hopefully we'll get some answers over the next week or so. But then again, let's not count on it. So, Andy, let's talk about, yesterday. And I'm just going to start right off with you. And why don't you go ahead and tell us, your side of things and how you felt after watching that game and what happened.
Well, on a positive note, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Will, my friend, happy Thanksgiving to you. Hope you had a good one.
I did.
I know you were at the game, so I'm sure you had a great time, aside from the obvious. I'm sorry for my tone, but I'm not happy with that loss. It was. They could have probably eked out a win, maybe the way they did against the Bears, because I noticed there was a very big similarity in the way the game went. When you look at the Bears game versus Packers game, striking similarities. They let Jordan Love run too much. And I'm just going to say it right now, and everyone should know this. Jordan Love is hot trash. He is not a good quarterback by any means. We made him look good yet. Well, and that's my next point. We made him look good. With our consistent defensive struggles, can't stop a mobile quarterback, which Jordan Love isn't even really a mobile quarterback, but boy, we made him look like one. I'm really at a bitter loss for words. I mean, we were a 7.5-point favorite. And forget about all that lingo, but we should have handily won that game. We should have handled them the way we did when we played them earlier in the season when you and I did our play-by-play calling for that game. Well, that's how that game should have looked yesterday. Yeah. And it was on, and I had, my dad called me to ask me about it. And, he said, well, do you think the 3-day break in between could have been a factor? I said, Dad, they came off a 3-day break from the last time they beat Green Bay and they beat the hell out of them. I don't know. They got complacent. I don't know if they didn't work enough. I don't know if they ate Thanksgiving dinner the night before and were in a turkey hangover. I don't know. I just don't know. And I'll tell you right now, this is the last point I'll make. That ridiculously horrible, sad call for a fake punt in the situation with they in, that single-handedly derailed that game. I don't know what to say, Will. I honestly, I'm in shock, and I'm not going to go into panic mode. I'm not saying this is going to derail us. This is like our season. But if we keep having games like that for the rest of the year, whether they're wins or losses, we will not make it far in the playoffs. We just won't.
No, I think you're absolutely right with that. And there's a lot to really kind of carve out of this loss. And there's a lot to look at. And I'm going to dive into a few points and a few things that I'm sure a lot of people have already talked about. But the first thing I'm going to point out is Jordan Love had his highest QB rating of the season yesterday, 125.5. His next highest QB rating was versus the Bears in the opening week of the season. In between that time, he's had a couple of good games, QB rating wise. But yesterday, we made Jordan Love look like a 5-year vet that has been leading a team for a few seasons now. And that's just not the case. So that is on the defense. And I don't want to, go, offensive fumbles versus the defense having to make up for, certain things. When the defense is on the field, they have a job to do, and they didn't do it. The other thing that I'm going to point out is the Lions played their third game within 11 days yesterday. So when you want to talk about things being fair and equal in the NFL, yesterday is nowhere near being fair to teams. And there's a few teams that have to do it. But I don't think that it's fair that you get all of those games jammed into less than 2 weeks. And then it would be said at the same point that the Lions are getting now like their third 10-day, period between games. Well, that's because they've just played 3 in 11. And then in the beginning of the season, week 4, they played 2 in, a week span. So I don't think it's fair. I think that there's a better way to do this schedule. And I've said that for probably more than 10 years. There's a better way to do this schedule. If you're playing on Thanksgiving, I don't think that it's right that you play the weekend before. And if you do, maybe they implement, at least a Saturday game to give them at least one extra day. Or maybe they play the Thursday before, which really wouldn't be fair or work out because then you'd be getting another Thursday night game. Or maybe you just give them that week as the bye week. Why not give the Lions the week before Thanksgiving as a bye week every year? Lock it in. And then people will say that's not fair. Well, I don't know how else to work it out. If you're going to be in all these primetime games in one season, which we're thankful for, and they did earn it, maybe there's something to be said about the schedule that should also be worked out. Before I jump into everything, do we have anything going on in the chat yet, Andy? And I want to welcome everybody in to Rocktown Detroit Lions, our wrap-up show of the Packers-Lions Thanksgiving Day game. And look, I hope you all ate well yesterday and enjoyed your family. And aside from the Lions, I hope it didn't, put you down too much. Hopefully you don't have any broken TVs you're replacing today. We always see that happen, with the Cowboys fans, but no burning couches from the Spartan fans. We'll
Well, yeah, hopefully everybody feasted well yesterday, better than our Detroit Lions did. We got a lot of activity so far on the chat here, Will. Let's just kick it in gear. Jeffrey Wright, welcome in, buddy. No effing pass rush, no effing pass rush, no effing pass rush. Lions going nowhere in the playoffs if they even make it. What an effing amateur blunder by Brad, not grabbing a defensive end. SOL mentality. I want to touch on that real quick, Jeffrey. I agree with everything you just said. As anybody who's watched this show knows that I've been one of the ones that advocated that we should have gone out and gotten somebody on defense. Same old line mentality. I'm not going to agree with you and go with you on that one. And that's just from an opinionated perspective here by me, because this still to me is not the same old Lions. The way they played yesterday, I think you could say it was same old Lions, because that was one of those games that made you almost have flashbacks of like, here we go against a bad team on Thanksgiving, another loss. But the overall scope of things with the way this direction, the way the team is going, I can't do that quite yet because I haven't lost faith. John Goodwin, this was a breakdown and failure from every level, starting with Brad, working on down to Dan, and this poor decisions and lackluster performance from 98% of the players. Lions talk by Chat Sports must play better. I must agree with you 100%. Peter Braley, welcome in. In the last 10 or 11 out of 12 quarters, Aaron Glenn is consistently being outcoached.
That one is 100% factual.
Absolutely.
You know, look, I think AG gives a lot to this team, and I think that he has the ability to be a great head coach at some point. But you know, I think that there's a mixture of issues that include one, AG doesn't have all the players he needs. I don't think that that's a secret. Everybody knows that we're missing another shutdown defensive end. Everybody knows that we're missing, another big body in the middle. And for whatever reason, Bugs isn't getting in the game. But more importantly, Aiden Hutchinson right now is playing average at best. And I'm not going to go into a whole diatribe on Aiden, but the stats are what they are. And you can look it up for yourself. He's not performing at a number 2 overall pick right now. And I think partly it's because he needs some help. The defensive backs will make your defensive ends and your defensive line look amazing. Vice versa. A great defensive line is going to make, average defensive backs look amazing. We've seen both sides of that this season. We've seen where our defensive backs look like they were all, stellar first rounders playing great. And then the next game they fall apart. But if you look at both sides of the coin here, look at the games where the defensive line's playing terrible and the defensive backs are also playing terrible. But when one or the other is playing well, typically they're both playing well. I think that they really feed off each other. And that's no secret either. I mean, that's just a part of the ticket to winning in football is, you play complementary football. One side has to feed off the other. Go ahead, Andy. Keep going.
Gotcha, Will. Lions talk by Chat Sports again. The defense has been an issue for 3 years. 100%. John Goodwin, welcome in. Outside of Hutch, there is no quarterback push.
Well, let me touch
Lions
on that one
talk by
for a
Chat
second.
Sports pass.
Let me touch on that one for a second. And Andy, I just forwarded you something from the subreddit. If you want to check your phone in your messages, I just forwarded you something there that maybe we can post later. So I guess the video that I put up made some Lions subreddit, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't know much about subreddit. I'll have to learn more about it, but it's kind of neat that it's getting out there. All right, what were we just talking about? The anemic pass rush by Aiden and the rest of the defensive line. Aiden, he did have
outside of Hutch, there's no quarterback push.
Yeah, there really isn't. But what we're getting from Aiden too is just not enough. And we'll get into more of that, I think, in a little bit. But let me start from the beginning, man. And then we'll jump back into the chat here in just a few moments. So Packers at Lions, post-game reaction. Here we go. The Packers entered Thursday's game with the Lions as 2-score underdogs. Not only was Green Bay 4-6 and Detroit was hot at 8-2, but the Packers were without running back Aaron Jones, inside linebacker Devondre Campbell, cornerback Jair Alexander, tight end Luke Musgrave, safety Darnell Savage, and safety Rudy Ford. So when you look at the paper to this game, you're looking at this and saying, wow, Lions got a huge edge. We only had one on the major injury report, and that was with Jonah Jackson. But this is why you play the games, right? Because against one of the hottest and best teams in the NFL, the Packers, a team that has looked somewhat lost this entire season, comes in, marches in to the den, and snatches a huge upset win. That cannot happen. And it cannot happen on Thanksgiving Day anymore. I'm apologetic to the fact that I posted that stupid thing about that waxing gibbous moon and how the Lions continue to lose. They're 0-13 now against the Packers on this waxing gibbous moon phase stuff. I didn't find the stat. I just came upon the stat. But I feel bad for even posting it. Packers keys. I'm going to go through a few of these things. Look, the Packers had zero respect for the Lions. And it started with them electing to take the ball to start the game. Now, we all know that the Lions have had a very rough start in the third quarter, first possession, all season. They haven't done a darn thing with the ball. So they win the coin toss. Packers take the ball. Green Bay put its foot squarely on our throat right away. Jordan Love found Christian Watson for a 53-yard gain on the first play. That was on Cam Sutton. That set the tone for what turned out to be a 29-22 Packers victory in front of 476,000 fans at Thanksgiving. Loaded house. This is also snapped Detroit's 7-game winning streak over the NFC North. At least that tells us, that we've been playing well under Dan Campbell, that we've fairly owned the NFC for quite a while. The biggest thing to this game is the Packers never trailed. The deep connection with Watson sparked a 5-play, 75-yard drive, concluded with a 10-yard TD pass to Jaden Reed. And that put the Packers on the board in a game, like I said, that they never trailed. One of the bigger highlights of yesterday's game was Rashawn Gary. 3 sacks. There was a total of 27 pressures on Jared Goff. 12 hurries. 7 by Kenny Clark alone. Jordan Love had 3 TD passes, a QBR of 90.6. I think Jared Goff's was like 15.8. 125.6 QB rating. Or passer rating, sorry. 3 runs for 39 yards. And you know what? That doesn't sound like a lot, but each one of those runs by Jordan Love gave them another opportunity to keep doing what they needed to do. He hit 7 receivers with at least 1 catch, 5 with 3 or more catches, and a 53-yard bomb to start the game, like we've already discussed. Jordan Love looked like a Jared Goff yesterday that's having a good game. He looked like any veteran quarterback out there that could spread the ball out and keep the Lions defense, thin. Now, the trick to this is they scored more than 20, right? But so did the Lions, is what you're going to tell me. But their 20 points that they started with happened in the first quarter. That's the most since scoring 21 points. I'm sorry, their 20 points in the first quarter were their most, the whole season. Scoring 21 points matched Green Bay's entire first quarter point total from the first 10 games. Let me say that again. Those 20 points matched how many points they've scored every first quarter for the entire season. The Lions put up 22 points the entire game. Yes, they also got more than that proverbial 20, but you won't win games when you have 3 turnovers. That's the ticket. You can't turn the ball over and expect to win. Cleaning up bad play is another one of my hot keys here for the Packers. In this quote, I'm not sure who it was on the Packers side. It could have been LaFleur. But he said, we're putting great things on film and we're eliminating bad play every week. I'm sorry, this was Kraft. We played a good team game. Of course, we're going to turn on film and there's going to be some mistakes, but we played hard and we played for 60 minutes. Why is this important? Because when you look at the Lions right now, every week in, week out, they talk about there's things they have to clean up. We're going to find some things that we have to get better at. But week in and week out, the defense is just not getting better. They're either staying the same or they're regressing. I have not seen this defense take a big leap forward. The offense has been kind of somewhat on cruise control since last season, where they know that they can go in and score. They know that they can move the ball. They maybe haven't done it 2 times in the last, 2 seasons since the beginning of 2022. There's maybe been 2, maybe 3 games or 2.5 games that they haven't been able to move the ball. So it's not the offense that we're really worried about. It's just the defense needs to step up and make that big leap forward. That being said, the offense can't turn the ball over. They just can't. And I don't care how it comes. They just can't. That's it really for my Packers keys so far. What do we got in the chat, Andy?
Got a lot of activity today. Ludell Wesley, welcome in. Too many bulky defensive linemen, no speed or agility. John Goodwin, Hutch is getting double and triple teamed a lot. McNeil is getting double teamed. Where's anyone else? That's been a constant all season.
Let me comment on this one. John Goodwin, I'm not picking on anybody, but I posted some things the pregame show, I believe. And there's some very good stats out there about pass rush win rates and double team I can't remember who did it, but I do have it. I can post it again, maybe in another show. I'll do a video about this exact thing. But Aiden Hutchinson is not even ranked in the top 20 for pass rush win rate or double team, triple team. He did get chipped quite a bit yesterday in that zone blocking scheme that the Packers were running, but he didn't get as many true double and triple teams as you think that he has. And that's what has me worried. And when I really study these stats and take a look at all angles of it, right, and watch the game tape too, a chip is a chip. The thing about next gen stats is it can't really tell you when there's a double or triple team. It's just telling you how close players are together for how long they are. And it's taking a wild guess with their algorithm if they're getting doubled and triple teamed. That's why next gen, in my opinion, is highly inaccurate. But these other stats that were done are done with people watching the film. And like I said, Hutchinson's not even winning 20%, on average over all the games of his pass rush wins, right? Those rates, he's not even at 20%. And he's less than 20% of his snaps on double and triple teams. So, and even if he was, right, why is he not winning? That's the question, right? And I don't want to make this all about Hutch because there is way more things going on in this game with the DBs. The DBs are at fault for this game. But it could be said both ways because like I started with, if the defensive line's playing terrible, your DBs aren't going to be able to stay sticky. They can't stay with, a receiver for 3 seconds and expect to win. Someone's going to get open, especially when we have like one really good corner and one really good safety who's not in the game right now. So we've got some good average players. Collectively, I think that what they're looking for is players to gel, right, and be a team with good chemistry. It's just not showing up on the field right now. But all right, I'll digress. Go ahead, Andy.
Don Burr, watching the D-line, you see no swim moves, hand chops, spin moves, nothing, just guys trying to overpower. 100%.
Best comment 100. Of the day right there. That guy's watching the game tape because Hutch isn't hand fighting. He's either bull rushing or spinning. I don't see the chop. I don't see the swim. I don't see any of that stuff. All right, I'm gonna have to say one more thing on Hutch. When you look at his arm length, I think he's got 32 and 3/8 inch arms or something like that, and he's 6'7". Bruce Irvin, the guy that we just signed to the practice squad, is 6'3". I want to say his arms are like 33 and 5/8. So he's got an inch more arm length on a guy that's 4 inches taller than him. The biggest knock on Hutchinson coming out of college is that he had short arms. And we're seeing that when Hutch is locked in with these tackles, he can't get free. When these tackles know when they get up underneath Hutch and they get inside him, he can't get loose because he doesn't have the arm push. He can't push them away using his brute strength to push to get free and then chop or swim, right? When your arms are short, you're kind of stuck. So in my opinion, Hutch needs to attack these guys with pure hand fighting and chopping. Don't try to get engaged with them. Try to get around them. Swat the arms and get around them. Don't lock in with them. And I think that's why he uses the spin move quite a bit because that's all you have left when you're locked in and you're stuck. So pay attention to that the next time you watch the games. Go back and look at some of the other tape. Maybe I'll do a Hutchinson breakdown tape and look, I'm not trying to get on the dude. This isn't, that I don't like Hutch. I want Hutch to be great. I do. I'm just going to tell you like I see it, or how I see it. And that's it. I'm going to be honest about it. And people will agree or disagree, and that's okay. I'm not always right. I'm just telling you what I see. All right, keep it rolling, Andy.
David Petrek, welcome in. For the second straight game, the opposing offense marches down for a touchdown, essentially untouched. Ravens did the same. That's a lack of coaching preparation. Apologize. That's a lack of coaching preparation. Something's wrong in the locker room. Actually, I don't want to debate. I don't want to speculate that too much, but sometimes I start to wonder if this is becoming a dynamic here that we're not seeing because, something's not right. Ludo Wesley, Love looked like Mahomes with the sidearm throws. Yeah, I'll tell you what, that our boys made Love and that Packers team look so much better than they actually are, and that's the sad part. Don Burr, love you, Jerry Jacobs, but man, you're a backup at best.
Yeah, and what you're about to hear on Jerry, you're not going to love.
Got a couple more here, real quick.
Jerry, I called him a liability in the beginning of the season, and he kind of made me out to be a liar in that second and third and fourth game. He really played well, started getting some interceptions, started playing well, but our defensive line was also playing well at the same time. And now we're kind of back to Jerry Jacobs as a liability, and he was one of the biggest reasons why we lost this game yesterday. Well, 3 DBs were, but he was one of the biggest reasons.
Absolutely.
Was that all you got for the chat right now?
No, I got a couple more, buddy. Don Burr and Tracy Walker just looks like a big hit. Looks for a big hit. His cover skills are like Stevie Wonder back there.
He is a big hitter, though, man. I'll give him that. He does lay the wood.
David Petrak. Again, sir, I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your last name correctly. The Lions seem to have adjusted for the worse on both sides of the ball. On offense, they're forcing stuff to JMO and Laporta. They need to go heavy on the O-line. You know what the sad part about that is, David, is that we have a great O-line. I don't know what happened yesterday. I don't know what happened against the Bears. I mean, they went up against the Chargers, who've arguably got two best front-end defenders in the game, and Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. They held them just fine. So what happened from that point on? It's getting bad. I'm extremely getting concerned in that sense. Ludell Wesley, Bugs seem to be a difference maker for the defense. I can't disagree with you on that one. I still am yet to find out, or we're still eager to find out what's going on with that one. Will, you keep saying it best. How many more times can we keep saying we're ill before people finally realize it's not just an illness, something else is happening?
Well, I mean, you got to look at his production. Like he's not a big stat guy, but his production is where he helps in this hive defense that I always speak highly of. That big body and that big push that's able to take up, 1.5 gaps, sometimes 2 gaps at a time, is allowing for other guys to get free. And when Bugs did get in the limited time he did this season, I felt like our defensive line played much better. It's not coming to me right now, but I want to say the first game he got in was the Bucs game. I'm going to have to go back and look, but at any rate, the first game that he got in, I want to say our defensive line played pretty well, much better than they have. But it's just escaping me right now.
I got one more here for you, Will, then we can carry on. Also from David. On the defense, they're expecting to get home with 4. That's not what they were doing during the first meeting with Green Bay. They were sending Anzalone or someone else. What did they change?
Yep. They were sending the linebackers and the DBs. I mean, they didn't do it a ton in the first game, but they did it. And you know what? I said it in that pregame where I dissected our defensive line, and I said, at what point, because when Hutch starts to barrel down on the tackle, he takes that wide angle and he sometimes leaves that big triangle hole open on the outside edge, outside of the guard. And that's a perfect lane for a DB or a linebacker to crash home. And they did it in that game. They didn't do it yesterday. And that's what I don't understand. At least I didn't see it a ton. I think we had one DB QB hit all day, which means that we sent the DB at least one time.
Yeah, and Will, we actually talked about this a few times when it comes to some of our offensive schemes every now and then. And now clearly with this defense, I mean, if something's working, like the way we played against Green Bay earlier this season, with the comment that I just read, why did we change? Why did we deviate from what we knew worked well? I mean, when they watched the film tape, I mean, they had to have watched the tape while they're preparing for this game. Would you think they'd compare it or stick to the same plan they did when they played Green Bay earlier in the season?
I think that they would have a similar plan, but I don't think you're going to come in with the same plan because Green Bay is going to be ready for that. Whatever worked against them the first time, that's what they're going to attack heavy and make sure that you can't do it again. So then you have to go to, option 2, right? Which is, well, what didn't we do in the first game that we can do now to surprise them with? The biggest thing that I'm going to say about the Packers defensive front is where were we really hurting yesterday? Jonah Jackson. You can clearly see that when, Big Jonah's out, and look, I'm not a huge fan of Jonah. I think he plays well. I think he's a good fit with this offensive line. He is a road grader at times and really opens up the run game for us. I think that when his contract's up, I don't know if he's worth, as much as what he's probably going to command. But from a pure player perspective, I love what he does on the field. He was missing yesterday. And when you have a rookie in there or a Wasika in there, I mean, come on, Skipper should never have been in the game. When you're thin in guard, look who got home. Kenny Clark, defensive tackle. He got home 7 times yesterday getting pressures on Jared Goff. Now, he didn't get a bunch of sacks, but he disturbed, and hurried Goff enough that it pushed him over to Rashawn Gary or somebody else. So they took advantage of our weakness, and our weakness is the guard. I've said it all season long. When we're coming into a game and we see, against the Chiefs, I think they were down 2 tackles in that opening game of the Lions. Why didn't we attack the tackles? I get it that they were kind of cheating a little bit and they were setting back on the line, but it doesn't seem like we attacked it. We didn't, send a DB in, or we didn't send a linebacker in. We never attacked their weakness. And I feel like that's something that's missing each game. I feel like we're not attacking their weakness. Now, I don't know. I can only see what I see in the tape, right? But I don't know what their pre-plan, is to the game. I don't know what's going on in the locker room or what's going on in the practice field. But it just from a pure watching the game tape, side to this, I don't see them really attacking what should be a weakness for that game. All right, I'm going to jump into some of the Lions' keys here, or failures, really. On the offensive side of the ball for the Lions. Look, the Lions were within striking distance, the Packers most of this game. But then Dan Campbell's over-aggressiveness really cost us, the game at multiple points. Dan Campbell went for it 5 times on 4th down and didn't convert any until the game was basically decided with under 3 minutes to play. But let's take a look at, more of what happened. First possession, 3rd quarter. It's 23-6 at halftime. The Lions needed 3 scores, 2 TDs and 1 field goal to tie. The Lions finally did something on their first possession of the 3rd quarter. They come out and they score a TD on the opening possession. Okay. So now we need 1 more TD. Now, it's not where I'm thinking in the stands like, okay, we got a shot here. I didn't expect them to come out and score in the first, possession of the 3rd quarter. It's the first time we've done it all season. So we need 1 TD and 1 field goal to tie. The momentum has shifted, right? You could feel it. You could feel it in the stadium that the momentum shifted. But then it quickly died. Like I said, the momentum was clearly shifting our way. The Packers' next drive, they punt, right? Lions get the ball deep in their zone. The Lions don't get anything going. They don't use the hurry up. They don't use any up tempo, which appeared to work for them in the first half. Why did they quit using it? Well, then we get to that bad 4th down call. On the second possession in the 3rd quarter, Dan Campbell calls a fake punt deep in our territory. That fails miserably. And now the momentum has rolled out like the tide forever. Packers scored a TD on the ensuing possession on the short field, making it 29-14 due to that fake punt call. And Dan owned it after the game. I mean, he called himself out on it. He should have never called it. But in games like this, here's my question. When nothing seems to be working right and you're not getting anything to bounce your way, you take the points, right? That's the goal.
Hello? You play to win the game.
We've heard this time and time again. You play to win the game. You take the damn points. You kick the punts on your side of the field, and maybe, just maybe, you have an opportunity to come back and win a very ugly game playing crappy football. You live to fight another day. You get through a very hard, 3 games in 11-day schedule, and you walk away winners, and then you regroup. But then there was more 4th down failures, right? In the first half, the Lions went for it on a 4th and 4 from the Packers 35 in what was then a 20-6 game. But they kind of rushed to get this play off before the 2-minute warning, which they didn't have to do, which led to an incomplete pass. Thankfully, the Packers didn't score again that half. In the fourth, with 6 minutes and 53 seconds left, the Lions failed to convert on a 4th and 7 on the Packers' 12-yard line to keep the deficit at 29-14. Why not take the points and try to get a stop? You have 3 timeouts. You need 3 scores no matter what, unless you're trying to get 2 2-point conversions, which is highly improbable because of why? What did I just say? Games like this where nothing is working, you don't expect to get 2-point conversions. You just don't. You're hedging against yourself. And I know egos get into play here, right? You're riding high on the ether like, this is my offense. They can do whatever they want. They can go in and score. I got faith in them. I got trust in them. And as a coach, you're never going to go away from that. But then you have to be realistic too. If it's not working, it's not working. Play it safe. Take the points. Put it on your defense to go make a stop, whether they're playing like crap or not. At least you show them you've got faith in them. When you walk up to them and say, look, I'm taking the points. You got to go in and work for us. I don't care what happened up until this point. Get rid of it. So the Packers punted the next drive, right? So, I mean, there again, you feel like you've got the momentum back because you got them to punt. You got them to flip the field without points. The Lions got the stop that they needed. But here's what I'm going to throw at you. Just think about this for a moment. If you erase that short field TD on the botched 4th, the fake punt call, the score is 23-14. If you take the field goal on the 4th possession of the second half, it's now 23-17. If everything else stays the same, then the TD on the next drive makes this game 23-23 and the Lions win with the extra point, 24-23. That's why you play to win the game. That's why you take the points. You don't make stupid, calls like they did deep into their own territory where you're going to be in trouble. All right, quickly, I'll go through the rest of this. Look, Jared made some poor throws without even looking at times. I felt like he was just kind of throwing balls into traffic. I understand that they're timing routes and his guys should be there. But there was some interceptions missed yesterday. But throwing balls into traffic way too often, not getting to his checkdowns, quick enough. But I get it. Goff was under constant pressure. I mean, more than half the snaps, he's under pressure. And Ben Johnson's play calling, I'm sorry. Way too anemic yesterday. What is this cutesy stuff with? I understand Skipper's got to be called eligible because he's lining outside the tackle on the line, but you're calling this cutesy stuff with Rodrigo. I mean, the guy hasn't caught a pass all season, and now you're throwing a ball to Rodrigo. I mean, come on, let's be real here. Let's put it into somebody's hands that can go and make a play and score. So I didn't understand any of that stuff. I really didn't. But Dan Campbell also made a point after in the press conference. He felt like they put way too much into this game, way too much scheme into this game, and maybe overloaded the guys too much. It didn't keep it simple enough on this, quick turnaround. I didn't see enough no huddle or up tempo. They did it a few times and it worked. While they were in the shotgun, they should have done it a hell of a lot more. Yesterday, I made a comment that I felt like I didn't see enough shotgun. I did see enough shotgun. I felt like they used it, but they didn't use it when they needed to. They should have just stayed in it the majority of the night or the majority of the game, but use a little bit of up tempo to mix things up. They didn't use enough quick slants. They didn't have any quick option routes, no deep shots, understandably, because Goff was under pressure. And Gibbs was kind of left out of the game plan. I didn't see him, running in there to save the day. I mean, the guy catches 100% of everything that's thrown his way. Goff still put up 336, no picks, 2 TDs, 3 fumbles. Clearly, you can see the issues when we don't have a Jonah Jackson in the game. And the Lions have a piss-poor backup core in that game. Dan Skipper, not the answer. Kobe Sorsdahl, he's a rookie. And he is getting beat on the first step consistently. He has played well in previous games. I've said it many times. But look, he has not seen the level of pass rush the Packers dialed up yesterday. And he got beat up bad. All right, flip it to the chat there, Andy. Got
quite a bit again, buddy. SW Lion, 16. That deep pass by Love at the beginning of the game, there were 2 Lions back there. That ball hung up forever. They mistimed it. Chris Mason, welcome in. Throw to JMO. He'll get it. I don't know. I'm not saying he wouldn't, but the way this game went, I'd be hard pressed to really have any faith in any of the team that the way that was going. SW line again. Lions haven't been the same since that Ravens loss. Other teams have figured them out, and the coaches have not adjusted. And Montarctica. The offense was clicking more when Reynolds was the second or third look. I think it's taking Goff too long to decide if JMO is doing the right route or if he can hit his speed. Yeah, as much as I thought JMO's kind of come alive and he's definitely doing a lot better, past couple games, there still seems like there's that little bit of disconnect between Goff and JMO. I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of one of those deals where I hope it improves.
It's a good point, by the way. I like that point where he's waiting to see if JMO's in the right alignment or not. That's a good point.
I agree 100%. Chris Mason, Goff, no ball security discipline. Yeah, I got to agree on that one. That was a tough one for me to swallow because we know he's not a mobile running quarterback. But even then, when he takes off, I've seen it even a couple games like the one where he ran in for a touchdown. That's all fine and dandy. He's got to take off, but he's got to secure that ball better. And we know Goff kind of has small hands. I know it's always kind of one of the knocks that people give him, but he's got to learn that he's got to secure that ball if he's going to be taken off.
A big point of emphasis from yesterday too, and now maybe you see why I call Jared Goff the giraffe. When he runs, he looks like a big clunky giraffe, running through the field. He was all over the place yesterday because he was under a ton of pressure and he was just trying to get out, and he did make some things happen with his legs. But when he went down, man, he went down awkward and funny. And a few times I'm like, oh my God, he's going to get killed. He's going to hurt himself. Someone needs to teach this kid how to slide. Bring him to a baseball game, a baseball practice or something. Teach the guy how to slide because he didn't slide once yesterday. And if you're not giving yourself up, those guys can hit you. And he's lucky he didn't take one yesterday because I don't think he's going to get up from it. I really don't.
Lion 16, Dan Campbell is awesome, but he's letting his friendship with AG cloud his better judgment, and he is bending over backwards to defend AG 100%. 100%.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that Dan Campbell is going to get in AG's, face this week, so to speak? I don't mean that in a, negative, threatening way, but I mean it in a way of like, hey, you got to fix this. But here's the one thing that I will say. I do not think AG will get fired in season. And I hate to even bring this up, but I'm going to, and I don't think that any team would ever talk about this publicly. But if AG really does have a shot to be a head coach, if he lasts through this season and the Lions, if he moves on and becomes a head coach for another team, the Lions will get 2 third-round picks for 2 seasons because of that new rule with the Rooney rule and everything else. He will not get fired. That would be a poor business decision by the Lions. They really could utilize those 2 third-round picks for 2 seasons. That's why AG will not get fired. That doesn't mean that Dan Campbell doesn't have a job to do. That doesn't mean that he can't go have a stern talking to AG and say, you need to fix it. But I just don't see the Lions moving on from AG for that simple fact right there. Now, after the season, different story. I think once they find out that he's not, head coach material and doesn't get offered a job, then they'll probably make a switch.
David says Taylor Decker and Sewell were getting beat, not just Skipper and Sorsdahl, etc.
Very true.
Yeah,
they all got line. Kicked.
Oh, yeah.
They got thrashed, completely thrashed. I mean, I saw Penei Sewell get thrown around yesterday like a rag doll, and my jaw about hit the floor. I'm like, oh my God. I told my son, did you see that? Like, I've never seen Sewell get thrown around like that. Bad day.
Campbell talks about getting better. They've been getting worse since the Ravens lost, and they were quite fortunate to have won each of the games they have won since then, given all the mistakes.
Very true. Very true. So let me jump into a little bit on some of the defensive keys. Jordan Love had all day to throw. And when he didn't, his legs were there to extend the plays. Now, he only had 3 runs, total of 39 yards, but it was enough, whether it was a first down or, giving them a shorter field to get a first down. He was able to move when he wanted to or when he needed to. The problem was he wasn't under the right kind of pressure. The Lions did get some pressure, but it wasn't the right kind of pressure. Why? Another goose egg for sacks. 0 sacks in this game. 7 total pressures in true passing sets. Now, what does that mean? What's a true passing set? So you can forget about play action rollouts, RPOs. I'm sorry, play action rollouts, RPOs, and passes in which the quarterback throws the ball in under 2 seconds. It excludes all of that plus screens. That leaves you with a true passing down. So, a shotgun formation where they drop back, that's a true passing set. If they get rid of the ball in under 2 seconds, it's no longer a true passing set. So when Jordan Love was dropping back to pass yesterday in a true pass set, the Lions only got 7 total pressures. That's pathetic. And they never got to him one time. They got 5 hits and 16 hurries, which totaled 21 pressures yesterday. Aiden, I know I talked about this in the beginning, but he only won 21.9% of his pass rush attempts versus the Packers yesterday. Tell me why AG pulled Hutch off of the line last season. You remember it was about week 5, week 4, somewhere in there. The Lions said, we've got to put Hutch in a better position to win. We've got to utilize him for what his talents are and what he can do well. Well, they pulled him off the line. They made him an off ball. He started to have success. Why is he back on the line if he's not having as much success? They need to put him more off the ball or out wide in a wide 9, something where he can have more success, because whatever they're doing right now is not working. It works at times, but it's coming in spurts, right? We don't want spurts. We want consistency. Aiden had a pass rush grade yesterday of 70.7. Totally anemic. And it isn't working. Something just has to change. To make matters worse, Aleem McNeil, who has been a top 10 DT all season, won 11.5% of his reps yesterday. That's terrible. And this is exactly why I and some of the others, that are in this space and doing, and Andy included, both of us have said we needed a DT. We needed a defensive end. Somebody at the trade deadline, somebody in free agency this past season that can really step up and cause some havoc. I get it. The Lions had a lot on the roster, and they drafted a lot of guys that Brad Holmes probably wanted to make sure that they weren't going to work out. Well, I think we're pretty clear in saying that they're not going to work out. Josh Pascal hasn't turned into anything great. Aleem McNeil is the best one we have. Levi Onwuzurike, he's barely playing, and when he does, he's not doing anything. Bugs isn't in half the time. Bohana's new, but again, he's somebody that he's not a big game changer. He's a great backup. We've got a lot of depth guys, right? I'm happy with the depth guys that we have on the team. Where's our starting game changers? That's what this team's missing. And maybe, just maybe, in 2024, we finally get that. I've been saying it for a while. This team is a half a season ahead of itself. We won a bunch of games early this season, but we're still a half a season ahead. When I look at a rebuild, which the Lions completely went through a rebuild, you need 4 drafts to get your guys. If you think about it, if you average 6 players a draft, that's 24 players. A full team is 25 guys. You got kicker, punter, long snapper, 22 starters, 25 guys. 4 drafts, you get your team, and then you do free agency, trade deadline, and you make your run if you've built your team correctly. The Lions have built their team correctly. They're in a much better position than they ever have been. They have phenomenal depth pieces on this team. Now they will go add the key pieces to turn this engine up to the next notch and start winning games and start being more dominant. I just don't know if that's going to happen this season. A lot has to change and change quickly. I'm not all out on the Lions. I think that they have a great opportunity to win a lot of games and to do something in the playoffs. It just has to be the right matchup. But they have to stay healthy, and they have to fix some things on the defense. What do you got for the chat, Andy? And then I'm going to go into some coverage grades and some passer ratings against some of these DBs.
I think Hutchinson is exhausted, and it's no wonder. He plays virtually every down, double and triple teamed frequently.
Brent says, I don't know if you were in earlier, but Hutch is not double and triple teamed frequently. The stats are out there. He's winning less than 20% of his reps, and he's double and triple teamed less than 20% of the time. And the guys that are in the top 20, they are double and triple teamed 50% of the time and winning 35% of their reps. That's a big difference. Hutch is not, so far, is not an elite pass rusher. He's an average pass rusher at best right now. That's just what the stats tell us. That's not a personal opinion. That's based on stats.
Yeah, and as always, like we've said, I always want to emphasize this. We're not bashing Hutch. We don't dislike the guy. We want to see him be great, but we have to have room for criticism. And so far, I can tell you, I'm just not seeing a guy that was picked first round, number 2 overall, showing what he's made of. But he does need help. Never, ever will step away from that opinion. Brent says, heck, J-Lo, that still cracks me up. I know what you mean. Jordan Love didn't have to do much. We freaking gave him the freaking ball. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we made him look like a great quarterback. Montarctica says, I'm also wondering if having CJ GJ around, if he's maybe talked a bit too much, pissed someone off or something, but who knows? Maybe Kirby. That's where that debate, that's where that speculation on the video that my friend Will here put up is what happened on the sideline. It's a different conversation for a different segment, but yeah, it's something's going on, and who really knows? We don't know what happens behind closed doors. All we can do is speculate. David says, why not have Hutch do a stunt with McNeil or have him and McNeil switch spots for a down to throw them off? So they got to try something. I'd say that's a good point.
So Montarctica, could you tell us a little bit, or if you want to share a little bit about what your channel is? I just noticed it had a YouTube symbol next to your logo there. I see Montarctica here is on YouTube. And I see some things from years ago, but I'd love to know more, man. Looks like you got some fun stuff up. So free play for you, man. Tell us a little bit about you, if you want.
Montarctica also says the offense needs to make drives, not 3 plays to a pick. That's how our defense gets tired. I also wonder, did Goff maybe get a bit hurt when he went down weird?
Yeah, I saw that play too. He landed on the football too.
Yeah, and I'm actually kind of wondering, Will, I don't know if you remember, but last week's game against the Bears, I remember he went down real weird on his left arm.
Yep.
I wonder if there's something. Wonder if he's trying to kind of downplay something that could be wrong that should be caring for.
Well, he's not going to come out in a divisional game. If he can play and if he can sling it, he's going to do it. But he hasn't looked the same the last couple of weeks. I'll give you that. But when you're under as much pressure as he was the last couple of weeks, man, they needed this break. They all need to get healthy over the next 10 days. Hopefully they do.
Brent says, I'm so irritated. I still think Brad Holmes wants it to be all about 2024.
I agree. That's the year that I pegged. I had a conversation with Derek earlier today, and I said the same thing, that I kind of felt like it was a 4-year thing for Brad Holmes. And I made this analogy, and I said, when they signed their contracts with Sheila Hamp, essentially, in the Lions organization, Dan Campbell was a 6-year and Brad Holmes was a 5-year. It almost makes you think that Brad Holmes said, look, I can do this in 5 years. You give me 5 years, I'll build you a team, and we'll get to a Super Bowl, and we'll start winning playoff games or something. And when you really look at it, where this is now lining up for next season and the draft and everything else that we have coming towards us, the Lions are in a great position. That's why I'm not Debbie Downer on the team, right? One game is one game. Tough loss, crappy game. but they'll bounce back. And we have so much more to look forward to as Lions fans. We really do. We have an incredibly intelligent GM. We're entering the season with like 70 million plus in cap space, 39 guys signed. We have 26 free agents on the roster. So there's plenty of room to make changes and to get better. And I guarantee you, Brad Holmes is going to get this team righted, and he's going to get the picks that we need and find the free agents that are going to make sense. I don't think that he's going to, blow the doors off and spend, $20-30 million on a single player. But I also hope he doesn't crack under the pressure of Detroit Lions fans. I feel like he's under pressure right now, that he's seeing that the Lions fans are so excited, and in the city of Detroit has been waiting for way too long. Is he going to fold under the pressure of the fans wanting more? I hope not. I hope that he continues with the plan and he sticks with the plan, and he shows us that the plan was going to work the entire time. And I feel like it's working. Look, we're not even 3 seasons into this, and we're 8-3. I don't know how it could be much better than this right now. This is not what we've witnessed the last 20 years, right? This isn't normal for Lions fans. So let's be excited. Let's be proud. Let's be happy that things are going in the right direction. Got our butts kicked yesterday. So what? We got our butts kicked against the Ravens. So what? We do have to learn from it. I'm never going to say SOL. I never really have. We just have to learn from it. They have to get better. We're still missing some pieces. So I applaud the guys that are on the field and giving their all for this team. But yesterday, our best coverage grade on the entire day was Jack Campbell, 71. Derek Barnes, 66.5. Kirby Joseph, 64.9. Now, granted, all of those guys were targeted less than 3 times. Brian Branch was one of the most targeted guys 5 times, 61.4. He was the best DB out of the bunch based on targets.
He was amazing.
Malcolm Rodriguez, 60. Jalen Reeves-Maben, a 60. Alex Anzalone, 55.9. Tracy Walker, Cam Sutton, Jerry Jacobs, bottom 3. Jerry Jacobs had a 32.6 coverage grade yesterday. 32.6. Targeted 9 times. 8 completions against. 88.9% reception rate. 12.6 yards of reception. 27 yards after the catch. He's the reason, one of the biggest reasons why we lost this game yesterday. He got torched. He got lit up. He got targeted. Passer rating against. This is what blows my mind. I'm just going to go straight to the bottom. Again, bottom 3. Tracy Walker, Cameron Sutton, Jerry Jacobs. Tracy was 8, Cam 9, Jerry 10. Passer rating against. Tracy, 100. Cam Sutton, 116.7. Jerry Jacobs. Mind taking a guess, Andy? What do you think it is? Cam Sutton is 116. Just take a wild guess. You know it's more than 116.
I'll say it's got to be 130.
150.5. Complete trash. Dumpster fire. That's why we lost this game yesterday. The DBs couldn't hold anything. Now, is it going to be said that the DBs couldn't hold because the pass rush didn't work? Probably. I think that they're both responsible. If the defensive line is giving the DBs, or let me say it another way. If the defensive line is giving Jordan Love 3 seconds to throw the ball, that's all day and eternity in the NFL. You have to get to him in under 2.4 seconds. Have to. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You have to. The best teams in the NFL right now, I think the fastest pass rush on the season is 1.9 seconds. And some of the best that are doing it are getting there in about 2.2, 2.3 seconds. So your average, 2.5, 2.6, 2.7, you've got to get there in 2.4. We're not doing it. We're just not doing it. Run defense, man, it was even worse. Alex Anzalone, I was very surprised, was the bottom of the list. He had 3 tackles, 1 assist, 38.8 run defense grade. Tracy Walker, 44. Quinton Bohanna, 51. Romeo Quara, 60. Charles Harris, 60. Malcolm Rodriguez, 60. The top of the list, surprise, surprise, Brian Branch, 77.7. Josh Pascal, 78.3. Now, where Jerry did make up for his lack of, play in the pass game, he was the 3rd best in the run defense with a 77.1, but he only had 1 tackle, so it's highly miscued, if that makes sense. John Kaminsky and Jack Campbell were the next best 2. Aiden Hutchinson had a 68.3. Aiden Hutchinson should be leading this group. He really should be. He should be your best defensive player. Ali McNeil is right in the middle, 63.2. He should also be leading this group. So I guess when you look at the defense overall, I mean, the proof's in the stats. These defensive backs got torched so bad that every single one of their passer rating against was higher than Jordan Love's rating for the day. So I'll digress for a minute. Go ahead, Andy.
Chris Mason, we need to slow our roll. Well, if you're referring to what I think you are, which I'm pretty sure I do, I'm going to roll that right into this comment by Brent. I've been sticking up for the Lions, telling family and friends, coworkers that we are not SOL. I'm having a hard time doing this anymore. All right, Brett, I know you're always on here a lot, and I thank you for always watching this stuff, but we can't already fall into this. I get it. I think as Lions fans, there's always going to be this big stigma because we've been let down, kicked in the head, trampled on for decades. I won't deny, when I watched this game yesterday, Andy, even for a minute
I got a call coming in. Hold on 1 second. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Yeah, Brent, I agree. Yesterday during this game, I did have about a minute with my friends and family. We were watching the game yesterday, Thanksgiving Day, obviously. And there was a couple of times where I just said, you know what, this is starting to feel familiar, starting to feel like SOL. But I had to dial myself back, and thankfully my cousin was the one who dialed me back as well. I can't do that yet. I really can't. Now, there's a caveat to this. And if this happens, I will remove myself from this show, and I'll let Will beat me senseless. If we lose out every single game going the end of the season, and then say like next season we turn into almost like a Matt Patricia type of performance for the season end of the year, then I'll shake your hand and say, yeah, we're same old Lions for sure. I can't do that right now, and I won't. I refuse. I had a hard time even doing it, even when the Lions were at their worst. But I cannot jump on the same old Lions train right now. I can't. I won't. And it's until I'm given a legitimate, really reason why I won't do it. Hi, Will. You're back.
I'm back, and I had Mike on the phone, and I guess we dropped the call. I don't know what happened. So he disappeared. But anyway, the phone lines are open. I would like to take a couple of calls. I went a lot further than I normally do without taking calls, but the number is on the screen, 313-312-0348. If you want to call in and talk about the Lions game yesterday, that would be great. We'd love to get a couple of fan responses to this, and we'll get this show wrapped up for tonight. Look, man, at the end of the day, Andy, I kind of missed what you were talking about. I heard Matt Patricia. What was that all about?
Well, one of our listeners, Brent, who I know he's come in here. He's been at, I'd say, almost every show we've done. Very, very loyal. And I want to say, Brent, thanks for listening as always. He made a comment, and I'll put it up right here. He said, I've been sticking up for the Lions, telling family, friends, coworkers that we are not SOL. I'm having a hard time doing this anymore. I just basically said, I'm not going to do that. We have not seen this. This I'm adding in now. We haven't seen this. As long as I've been a Lions fan, I've never seen a GM and a coach and a team that finally look like they're serious about the direction that we're taking. But I told him that during the game yesterday, yes, I had a moment where I did say SOL, but then I dialed myself back. My cousin dialed me back and said, this is not this. And I agree. It's not SOL. I'll never say that about them at this, especially at the stage we're at. We're 8-3. We haven't done this well, and I know in my lifetime, haven't seen them do this good. The only thing I brought up, Matt Patricia, I had said that, and I did make a comment, Will, and say that if this happens, I will remove myself from the show and let you beat me senseless. The only way I would be SOL at this point, Will, is if, God forbid, the Lions were to lose out every game the rest of this season, not make the playoffs, and then next year they were to put on at the end of the season a record that was very like a Matt Patricia-esque type of season. Then I would almost have to sit there and say, yeah, this is same old Lions. When we looked like we were finally going up and then completely nosedive. Maybe it sounds like a strange point analogy to make, but that's when I'll sit there and say SOL. Brent, don't lose hope, my friend. Please, we're all in this together. We got some bumps in the road here. I know we're pissed. We're mad. We didn't want our Thanksgiving game to go this way. Don't SOL it and throw in the towel yet. We're still doing phenomenal, I think.
So this one about John Goodwin here. He says, I've got major concerns. Let me ask one question. Midway through, we should be progressing forward. After the last few weeks from the Ravens on, has the defense been progressing forward or backwards? I think that's a pretty easy one to speak on. I think that we're regressing. But I don't know that we've really ever taken that leap this season. When you look at the offenses that we dismantled, right? The Falcons, the Raiders, I think that says enough. We've beat up bad offensive lines. We've beat up teams that were missing players. In the good games, against the good teams and the good offensive lines, the Ravens, we didn't do anything. So it's one of those things where we're beating up on the bad teams. We're barely hanging in there against the good teams. The offense usually is the ones that were winning the game for us. But now we've completely imploded on both sides of the ball. And maybe our bye week came a little bit too early. Maybe the Lions just needed a little bit more time, and they keep riding that high that they were on, eke out a couple more wins and have a later bye week. But everyone has to deal with this stuff. And right now there's another comment in here too that said, let me find it. I think it was this one. They have better personnel on defense than they had last year. Yet this defense has regressed substantially when they should be getting better. This is a coaching issue. So that's the point that I wanted to make too. I feel like AG's scheme has the ability to be great. It's just not being implemented, in my opinion, which I'm not a coach in the NFL ranks, don't claim to be, but just based on what I see on film and what has happened in the games, I don't feel like it's being implemented the right way. They always speak to, we're going to play our guys to the strengths that they have, right? We're going to put them in the best position to win. Well, yesterday, if you're not getting pressure from the 4-3, why didn't you go to the 5-4? Why didn't you get heavier up front? They didn't have a running game. I mean, they were missing their number one running back. And, Dylan was dealing with a groin. They really had nobody to worry about, but you could shut that down. So why didn't you go 5-4 and then release a DB or a linebacker as your blitzer and just, you shut down the front line. You don't allow them to get but a few yards or less, and you hope that your blitzer gets in and gets love on the passing plays. I think the answer to that, it's easy for me to say that, but I think the answer to that is our DBs were getting torched yesterday, but they were getting torched because we weren't getting pressure. If they would have gone to the 5-4, or better yet, dial up the nickel, right? Put your 5 DBs in, but release a linebacker every single time. We didn't blitz enough. They were playing too scared. They were too worried about what was going to happen, and they didn't blitz enough. So it is a coaching issue. They're not implementing the right calls at the right time. They're playing too safe, and that's what's getting them beat. Yeah, exactly, John. We haven't been winning the D-line of scrimmage all year. Only bad teams. That's very true. Now, we played decent in some of the tougher games, right? But we're barely hanging in. And we're still allowing too many points to be scored. and the offense has to go to work and score it in bunches, which they can do, but they couldn't do it yesterday. The offense just was not getting going because they were under pressure. So now 3 games in a row, the Chargers, I mean, you can't allow a team to, what was the score in the Chargers game again? Did they both put up 40 points? I want to say the Chargers put up 40 on us, didn't they? Or 38?
Yeah, they put up 38 on it. They put 38 on us.
So you can't allow a team to put up 38 points on you if you want to win games. We shut them down in the first half, and then they take the foot off the gas in the second half and allow the Chargers to get back in the game. Can't do that. Bears, first play of the game, we got gashed. Packers, first play of the game, we get gashed. They're just not set up, to be ready. What appears they just weren't ready. And Dan Campbell spoke to that too. He felt like they just weren't ready. Fans need to chill blaming Goff. Yeah. I mean, he's still to blame for some of the stuff he did yesterday. I mean, we can't totally protect Goff and say that he's not, at fault for some of this stuff. But when you're under pressure, you're under pressure.
Yeah, but Will, I understand what he's saying is that it's like anything else. We've got a lot of Goff haters out there. A game like this was clearly on everybody for this loss. But he's right, because even I saw it right off the bat. The first topic to be brought up, well, see how we lose when we got a quarterback like Goff. And I go, and all I can do is just contain myself and rub my head like this and say, you guys seriously want to sit here and still think it's all on Goff? I'm not going to get started now, but it's ridiculous.
Chris, your question on Malcolm on offense. So Malcolm was put in at the H-back or the fullback position a couple of weeks ago. We don't have Jason Kabinda. They brought in, was it Darrell? Can't remember his last name now, but we brought in a guy. He's no longer with the team. So they decided to put Malcolm Rodriguez back in as the H-back, kind of the fullback, if you will. And he's been back there for a few weeks now. So it's nothing new. But I think to answer your question in another light, why the hell was he even used to catch a pass? I'm glad he caught it. Heck, he made a nice diving grab for it. But let's not get cutesy. We need to win the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That had the potential to be a complete disaster. And thankfully it didn't. This is a great comment. The best coaches are able to camouflage the deficiencies of their personnel. No team is without deficiencies, but some are better than others covering them up. Exactly right. And right now, our deficiencies are on full display. No pass rush, no coverage ability. And if one or the other is taken out of the game, they're both out of the game. The best part of our defense, quite honestly, is our linebackers. They've been the most consistent out of anybody. Anzalone's been playing, an extremely good, season this season. He's had an extremely good season this season. He's played very tough. He's led a couple of games in tackles and, game-saving plays and big plays. So, and then, John Goodwin, Brian Branch, 100%. He was the steal of the draft. We stole him from the Packers. We traded up with the Packers to take Branch. They made a huge mistake. I can only see, Branch's stock rising over the next couple of seasons, and he will become a very elite DB in this league, but he needs some help. We do need a true shutdown corner. And when I say shutdown, I mean shutdown in the sense that we really need another number one across from Sutton. And when you think of a shutdown corner, there was something that Deion Sanders said a few weeks ago, that when you really look at the NFL, there's probably been 12 shutdown corners throughout the entire span of the NFL. But in today's terms from shutdown, what I mean is we just need more of a lockdown corner, someone that can really play well in a complementary role, as a number 2 to Cam being the number 1, or maybe Cam slides over to the number 2 and we get a new, number 1 in the draft next season, or maybe in free agency. But we need someone that can play and play at a high level. If we could just get one more cornerback and one more DT or defensive end, or all three, I think our team is well on the way on defense.
They are not making the offense to make adjustments to our defense, especially at home with the home crowd noise.
They are not making the offense. What did that say?
Gerald, welcome in. I want to think they're not making the. I want to assume maybe they are not making the attempt to make adjustments to our defense. I hope I'm understanding that correctly. Please let me know.
They're not making the offense make adjustments to our defense. Yeah, so that's actually a good point. Something that I spoke about might have been the first Green Bay pregame where I said when you go up to the line on defense, right? If the opposing offense is not making adjustments to the line, right, or not making adjustments to their alignment and what they're about to do, then they know what your defense is about to do. They've got your defense whipped. So if they're not making adjustments on offense, you're doing something wrong on defense. And you should be able to pick that up right away. Like, hey, they're not changing the play. They're not calling motion. They're not moving people around. Well, they know what we're doing. They got the right play. If they just come up and hike it, they know what you're in. And if they know that, game's over because whatever you're doing, they got it pegged. They must have stole the signs, I guess. You know what I mean? That's what it would seem like.
They have better personnel, yet this defense looks as bad or worse than the defense that was playing well late last year. That's a coaching issue.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree there.
And it's games like yesterday that keep SOL in the chat. Well, I kind of touched on that. And actually, Brent, if you're still there, I did see your one comment. I just want to digress real quick from what I said. I wasn't trying to make it sound like you were saying SOL. I know that's what you were. I understood what you were saying with that. I was just trying to push the message that nobody should start even thinking that. And good luck on your comment you made to me. Good luck trying to convince people that we're not SOL. Anybody who has that moniker in their mind, you're not going to change their mind. That's just how they're going to think of you.
It is what it is. I mean, if you've been waiting since 57 for the Lions to do something great, we get it. Your patience is very thin, if there's any patience left at all. I've been waiting since, 84 was my first game, and I've been waiting ever since then for the Lions to do something great. They've had a couple of good seasons. I got to watch, some of the best of, Barry Sanders, during my lifetime. And that's about it. Matt Stafford had a few good seasons. I mean, I can still remember, the broken shoulder game, where he goes in and wins it, the fake spike, I think that was against the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. The Calvin Johnson multiple TD games, the catch and quadruple coverage. I mean, I've seen some spectacular plays, instances, moments in time. But when are we going to see a complete season? That's what I'm waiting for. And I think that a lot of Lions fans right now are just so ready. And after we came out swinging and got hot, we expected more, and we still should. This team's not down and out by any means.
Not at all.
We're going to make the playoffs. That's a given. We would have to lose every game right now to not make the playoffs. And I don't see that happening. I do see now where, like I said, this Cowboys game, I don't see us beating the Cowboys right now with how they played last night. I just don't.
No.
They're a complete team right now. And I think they're about to add Shaquille Leonard or something like that I read, or they've been talking to Shaquille Leonard. Why are the Lions not adding somebody? If you got an opportunity to add somebody, But anyway, Andy, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a second. What would you like to say, I guess about yesterday or anything you want to say at all? We're going on the hour and a half mark here, and I'll leave it up for anybody for the last 10 minutes. If anybody wants to call in, now's the time. You got 60 seconds. Otherwise, we're gonna close the phone lines, and then we're gonna be wrapping it up. So, Andy, take it away with whatever you'd like to say.
Well, Will, again, this is Thanksgiving is my favorite time of the year, and watching the Lions is always one of my favorite times of year. And yesterday I had so much hype and so much excitement to see what I thought was going to wind up being a blowout against Green Bay. What I saw yesterday was just another defensive showing of just being unprepared, making a garbage quarterback looked good, almost Super Bowl worthy. They had no step. They had no pep in their step. They looked like they just slept the 3 days before this game. Offensive line was lackluster. We got one of the top 5 offensive lines in the NFL. Goff had no protection. Goff had not really good pocket awareness a couple times. No good ball protection. Just overall, bad coaching decisions, bad everything all the way across the board. And I have to say, the one big takeaway that I've got on this whole entire game, that fake stuff, that aggressiveness now, as of yesterday, I'd like to see it stop. Yeah, it's exciting. Dan Campbell likes to take the chances, 4th and 1 all the time. Now a fake punt. I think we need to dial this back and say enough's enough already. We just need to go back to playing smart football. If the game just starts and we're already looking at a 3 and out, don't go for it on a 4th and 1. Punt the ball, get the defense out there. Or maybe there's something to it. Sometimes I wonder, does Campbell go for it on these 4th downs as much as he does because he does not have any faith in our defense, and he knows the offense can usually get the job done? Is there strife between him and Aaron Glenn? These are the things that I kind of think about. Now, and what the hell is going on the sidelines with Kirby Joseph and C.D. Deuce? I just wonder, was just frustration boiling over because the way this game was going? Or has it been some hidden turmoil in the locker room that nobody's known about? And all of a sudden, when you factor in a bad game with that sideline stuff, is stuff starting to boil over amongst people? I don't know. All I know is that I agree with a couple of the people that were in here in the chat today. We're not going to win playoff games with that kind of showing. We might make it to, I agree with you, Will. We're not down and out. We're going to make the playoffs. We're going to take the division still. But if we play like that going forward, and that translates into the playoffs, I don't mean to sound gloomy, but we're going to see another season where the Lions make the playoffs and not win a game.
So I guess to counter a few things that you said there, you remember back in the spring, we did a show, and I said, is Brad Holmes the new Moneyball? And quite honestly, I believe that Dan Campbell is playing more of the Moneyball, like the baseball style of metrics, right? And he's implemented it into the NFL game. There is a high school coach, I believe it was, that has never punted the ball over like 30 plus years and did all the metrics and figured out that, there was a higher propensity to win by not punting the ball ever. And I think there's even a college coach that started doing it too. So I believe in Dan Campbell's methodology that there is some validity to what he's doing. It's just, when do you do it? I don't think that it's right to do it on your side of the field. I don't think that if you're not up, or if the time is against you and you really have to do something, you have to do something. But when you're on your own 23-yard line and it's the, what was it, the second quarter or whatever it was, I think it was second quarter, you don't do a fake. You kick the ball, you move on to the next one, right? So I think for what Dan's doing, I do believe in about 90% of his calls that he's made there. I just think that he's had some really bonehead calls that have bit us. And there's been a couple of times that the offense and the defense both saved him. So I still want to see the aggressiveness. I just hope that when it comes to the playoffs, he's much, much smarter at his decision-making in those game time decisions for what, when's a good 4th down, 4th and 7 or 4th and 5, go for it call. When do you do a fake punt versus just line up and go? I wouldn't have wanted to see a fake punt there. I would have rather have seen them just go for it if they're going to go for it. Mm-hmm. Trust in your offense. They're the ones that are able to do it. They've got a higher propensity to do it with the style of players that they have and the grit that's definitely in this team. What is grit? I mean, people are still trying to answer that. What is grit? And why is everybody saying it now in the NFL ever since the Lions started with it? Well, I think it's the tenacity that you show on the field. I think it's the balls that Dan Campbell shows and the style of plays that that they call. It's you've got a scrappy team. You may not have the best team. You may not have the most elite team, but you've got a scrappy team. And that scrappy underdog is going to take down the guys that are supposed to win. It's the David versus the Goliath challenge. That's what I think about when I think about grit. We're the Davids, they're the Goliaths, and until we get better players, we're going to be the Davids. Here's what I see for the rest of the season. Lions are headed to the Saints in 10 days, or 9 days now, whatever. It's a must-win game. Then the Lions are going to be at the Bears. Well, the Bears just showed us that they can beat us. Another must-win game. Then we get the Broncos back home, against the Lions. And then we travel to the Vikings. Vikings are not a slouch team right now. Josh Dobbs is another quarterback that can use his legs. He can pass the ball very well. He's just now getting Jefferson back. He's done all this without Jefferson. I can't remember if Jefferson just came back this last game or not, but everything he's done up until that point was without Jefferson. So now that you've got your weapons back, that makes the Vikings, all that more scary. The Lions are in a fight right now. They're 8-3. They got 6 games left, and they need to win 5 out of 6 of those games to wrap up the number 2 seed, at least. So it's going to be a tough road. I think it's a tougher road than we thought, because in the beginning we were looking at the Bears like, man, that's an easy win. The Vikings, well, they lost Kirk Cousins. They're out. That's an easy win. Not anymore. Not anymore. Cowboys, they're as real as they are right now. As real as they're going to be.
Nah, I don't worry about them.
I don't think that the Cowboys are going to give up anything against us. And that, if they're resting players, then we have a chance. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I don't know what is this message by Chris Mason with. What is all of this? Location yellow, teal bars, location yellow.
Yeah, I saw that too. I wasn't sure what it was, honestly. Let's get a few more comments in here before we wrap up, Will.
Yeah. All right. So
John Goodwin says Dan had better bring grit back and live it all the way through the playoffs. I agree, and I think we've made that pretty clear that he's got to. We almost feel like, I don't want to say we've lost it, but I almost feel like we need to readjust and get back to what our identity is, and not have this, SWAG scheme is telegraphed, predictable, with no disguise, creativity, or imagination. That's not a winning formula. Not at all. Not at all. Lauren McQuigg, there were breakdowns throughout the team and coaching. 3 net turnovers, 1 for 5 on 4th downs. It's hard to win games with those numbers. 100%. 100%. Lauren, again, Goff pressured too much, needed to make quick pass adjustments. Receivers not looking for the ball soon enough. Coaching should have reacted sooner. Yeah, I got to agree. A lot of these plays, a lot of these situations we ran into, we adjusted it when the clock was already down to 0. And I mean that in a figurative way, not literally. It's just bad all the way around. How the Lions won that Chargers game, I'll never know. Same with the Bears. Both were miraculous for different reasons. And that's looking kind of coming towards the end, Will.
All right. Well, hey, I want to say thank you to everybody that jumped in tonight. You guys are truly the best part of our channel and making this all about the fans and for all the other Lions fans out there that watch this after we're done. You guys are just as incredible too. You took my video and ran with it. I think we're over like 23,000 views right now. So I want to thank you all for, very, very much for all of your support. You guys are truly the best. Like I've always said, you are the true sponsors and supporters just by watching the video and sending us your comments. And if you're new in tonight and you happen to look down and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Our channel is growing, and we're only going to be bringing you bigger and better content. This is our first full season, and we've got a lot planned for the next 2 to 5 years, and we want to grow with you, and we want to do it the right way. So we appreciate it. That's really all for me. I got to say, man, that my stomach still hurts from yesterday. It was tough to watch. The most important thing that I can say about yesterday is I had an opportunity to spend, quality day with my children and my father, and that meant more to me than any Lions victory ever would. So even though the Lions lost on Thanksgiving, I hope you all enjoyed your family, and that's what it's all about, man. The Lions are just part of our life's journey as a fan, and they're meaningless at the end of the day. Nothing is more important than your family. So let's keep that in mind. But on to the next one. We're going to throw this tape away because I don't want to talk about it ever again. We're done with the Packers for this season. We got a tough road ahead. So hopefully they can figure it out, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if anything comes out of this whole Kirby and CJ Gardner thing. I don't know what to say about it, man. I really don't, other than I speculated. That's all I can do. It's all I can do. It didn't look right. A lot of the players looked like they were kind of taken aback from it and what was going on. But that's not an image of the Lions that we want. But I shared it because I felt like it was important for everybody to know what was going on. And maybe we'll get an answer. We'll see.
That's all we can do.
All right, y'all. Again, I appreciate the heck out of you. And on to the Lions' next victory. We'll be doing the pregame prep, breaking it down at least a couple of days before the Saints. Go ahead and check our live schedule. I put it out, a few days in advance. And we'll see you here next time. So until next time, go One Pride and go Detroit Lions. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Wants to throw it to Short. He caught it. He's going to first down. Oh, the big man dives down the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Fields looking, pressured, hit from behind, take it down. Aiden Hutchinson got him.
No respect.
So, we look like we're ready. This is day one.
No respect.